Most people treat the new year as a fresh calendar filled with resolutions that rarely last, but the Stoic sees something deeper, a sacred moment to pause, reflect, and realign. You don't need to make dramatic changes or prove anything to anyone. You simply need to ask, how do I truly want to live? In this video, we explore how the philosophy of Stoicism turns the new year into something more than a fleeting goal-setting ritual. It becomes a return to self-mastery, presence, and meaningful discipline, from reclaiming your time to overcoming anxiety, from building routines to letting go of bad habits. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about becoming more of who you truly are. If you've ever felt the pressure to reinvent yourself at the start of each year, this video is your reminder. Real change doesn't start on January honest. It starts with clarity, intention, and one small choice today. The new year isn't just a change in dates. It's a chance to recreate yourself. There is a moment that most people overlook. It's the moment when the clock strikes midnight. On the first day of the new year, someone opens a notebook and writes down a list of goals. Someone else just sighs and tells themselves, everything will go back to the same as before. But that moment is more than just a new number on the calendar. It is an opportunity for you to pause and reflect, not to feel regret or guilt, but to realize that you have the right to choose a new way of living. No one can start over from the beginning, but everyone can start again from where they are, with a new mindset. Stoics don't wait for the perfect time to change. They know that self-recreation doesn't come from fleeting resolutions, but from conscious choices. Repeated each day, Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Life is not measured by years, but by the way you live each moment." If you feel like you've lost your direction, then the moment you realize that is already the first step back. If you feel like you're living a life that isn't true to yourself, this isn't a sentence. It's a calling to begin again. From within, a new beginning doesn't have to be grand. You don't need a 100-item plan. You only need one honest question: how do I truly want to live? And you need the courage to answer it with action, even if it's just one small act each day. Recreating yourself isn't about running away from the old you. It's about transforming that self into a better version, not to prove anything to others, but so that you can look yourself in the mirror and smile, because this time, you're living in alignment with what you believe in. The new year is an opportunity, but real change begins only when you choose to live differently. From this very moment, it doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to be meaningful, and you have the strength to do that. Start small, build a transformation that lasts. When people think of change, they often picture something dramatic: quitting their job, moving to a new city, turning their life upside down in one bold decision. But Stoics understand that real transformation doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from small, steady actions, repeated every day. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Life is built action by action, and if each action fulfills its purpose, ask no more." In a world that constantly rushes, this reminds us, one small step in the right direction is still a step forward. Imagine you want a healthier body. You don't need to start with a strict diet or intense workouts. Just walk for 10 minutes each morning. Just drink one more glass of water. Just go to bed 15 minutes earlier. These small things may go unnoticed by others, but they form the solid foundation of lasting change. Stoics don't set goals to impress anyone. They do it to nourish themselves from within. If you want to be calmer, start by sitting still for 2 minutes each morning. Just observing your thoughts. If you want clearer thinking, read 1 page a day instead of scrolling mindlessly through dozens of distractions. Small actions help you overcome the fear of starting. They break procrastination with simplicity. And when you maintain them, you train something more valuable than results: unwavering discipline. and self-control. You don't need to finish a whole book today. Just write 100 words. You don't need to change your entire lifestyle. Just adjust your morning habit. These small movements, repeated again and again, will build enough momentum to transform your life. And one day, you'll look back and realize you've come so far simply by starting with the smallest thing you could do today. Master anxiety before it controls you. Anxiety isn't wrong. It's a natural response from a mind trying to find safety in a world full of uncertainty. But if you let it grow without observation, it will consume your mind, pull you away from the present, and imprison you in a maze of what-ifs. Stoics look anxiety in the eye and name it. Epictetus once said, "We are not disturbed by events, but by our views of them." This means that anxiety doesn't arise from circumstances, but from how you perceive them. Are you anxious about an upcoming meeting or the outcome of a project? Pause and ask, which of these thoughts reflect reality and which are just assumptions in my head? This simple act is already a first step back to clarity. When anxiety strikes, instead of trying to suppress it, Stoics return to what they can control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. What you can do now might be as simple as taking a deep breath, reviewing your plan, or resting to regain clarity. But any conscious action helps break the spiral of anxiety. Write down what's making you anxious in your mind. They may seem bigger than reality, but on paper, you'll see most of them don't need solving, they just need releasing. Anxiety is not the enemy. It is a signal, reminding you that something needs to be acknowledged, prepared for, or adjusted. When you listen with awareness, instead of reacting blindly, you turn anxiety into a force for growth. Stoics don't live without anxiety, they live with it, understand it, and don't let it lead. And you can do the same by returning to the present, doing the smallest useful thing you can, and reminding yourself, I am not controlled by this emotion, I observe it. I choose how to respond. Design a routine that fits your life. Modern life is chaotic. You wake up to messages, tasks, duties, things that demand instant reaction. In that cycle, you no longer lead your day, you're dragged by it. But Stoics understand that an orderly life begins with an orderly day, and an orderly day begins with routine. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Don't waste time debating what a good person should be one. Each day is a chance to embody what you believe through the actions you repeat." A routine isn't a long to-do list that suffocates you. It's a subtle blueprint for a purposeful life, a rhythm that helps you stay grounded amid the chaos. Instead of letting the day unfold randomly, you can choose to start your morning with a moment of silence, a 5-minute meditation, a few lines of reflection, or simply asking yourself, what is the most important thing I need to protect today? That question helps you set an intentional tone, rather than being swept away unconsciously. Stoics don't chase meaningless productivity. They choose to do the right thing at the right time. They know when to focus and when to pause. A good routine doesn't just help you get more done, it helps you do the right things with clarity and presence. Observe, when are you most alert? Most creative, morning or afternoon, instead of forcing yourself into someone else's schedule. Build your habits around your own rhythm and values. Maybe you need to begin the day with exercise, writing, or playing with your child. What matters is that it nourishes you, not just fills a checkbox. And remember, flexibility isn't failure. Some days you'll miss a beat. Sometimes you'll feel tired. But if your routine is clear and aligned with what you're pursuing, you'll return to it naturally. Routine is a compass. It doesn't imprison you. It guides you back to yourself. especially in turbulent times. When you design a day with intention, you are creating a life with depth where nothing is just a reaction, but a conscious choice. Remove bad habits. Reclaim the power of self-mastery. There are things you do every day that you barely notice. Reaching for your phone the moment you wake up, postponing important tasks, blaming yourself for small mistakes. These actions slowly become habits, not because you chose them, but because you forgot you had a choice. Stoics believe that true freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. It comes from being able to control yourself. Seneca once wrote, "No one is truly free who is not master of themselves." Every bad habit is an invisible chain, keeping you stuck in patterns you no longer control. To break a habit, you must first look at it without judgment. Instead of blaming yourself for a lack of willpower, ask, what is triggering this behavior? What am I seeking when I do this? Many bad habits stem from unresolved emotions, anxiety, loneliness, boredom. When you understand the root, you can change without forcing yourself. For example, if you scroll social media for hours, it may not just be screen addiction. Maybe you're seeking connection or avoiding a sense of emptiness. When you realize that, you can replace the habit with a more intentional act, like calling a friend, writing in your journal, or simply walking in silence. Stoics don't try to suppress habits. They redirect that energy into something more meaningful. If you procrastinate because you feel overwhelmed, start by breaking the task down, or commit to doing it for just 5 minutes. That small action not only helps you overcome resistance, but also restores your sense of agency. And most importantly, forgive yourself when you slip. Marcus Aurelius reminded, "When you fall, get back up. Don't blame yourself. Don't complain, just continue as if nothing stood in your way." Patience with yourself is part of inner discipline. Each time you overcome a bad habit, no matter how small, you prove to yourself that you're not a victim of your impulses. You are their master. And as you dismantle enough of those chains, you'll come to realize what Stoics have always believed. Freedom doesn't come from the world out there. It begins from within. Time is not lacking. You're just giving too much of it away. You don't lack time. You're simply giving it away every day to things that aren't truly important. Those just 1-minute phone checks, the hours-long small talk, the tasks you agree to because you're afraid to say no. Every second may seem harmless, but it's quietly stealing the most precious thing you have, your life. Right now, Stoics understand the value of time more than anything else. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Time cannot be bought back, nor saved for later. It can only be fully lived in this very moment. Be honest with yourself. How much time each day do you spend on what truly matters? How much time for silence, for your loved ones, for what you want to create in this life? And on the other hand, how many hours have you lost trying to please others or chasing goals that were never really yours? Stoics don't let busyness determine the value of their lives. They choose carefully what deserves space in their schedule. This doesn't mean you have to live austerely or cut out all pleasure. It simply means you need to ask yourself, does what you're doing contribute to your inner growth, your core values, your true peace? Try a simple practice. Write down everything you do in a day at the end of the day. Mark the things that truly made you feel aligned with your values. You may be surprised by what you discover. And from there, you begin to reclaim the hours you've lost by living with more intention. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This isn't meant to scare you, but to remind you that life is happening right now, and you can choose to live it mindfully. You don't need to do more. You just need to do what matters. And when you start giving your time to what's truly important, each day stops being a frantic chain of reactions and becomes a meaningful journey. Lived minute by minute. Embrace challenges. Forge inner strength through adversity. No one desires hardship, but the very things we don't ask for often become the true measure of our inner strength. Stoics don't pray for an easy life. They seek a mindset strong enough to face what difficulties may bring. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties show a person's character. In pain, we see our limits under pressure. We discover powers within us that had never been awakened, and only when facing adversity do you truly learn how deeply you can stand your ground." You may have experienced something that felt unbearable: loss, failure, emotional pain, and then one day, when the storm passed, you realized, "I'm still here, and I'm not the same," not because the storm destroyed you, but because it revealed the strongest part of you, the part you didn't even know existed. Stoics believe that obstacles are not roadblocks. They are the road itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." When you change how you see it, a challenge stops being a burden and becomes an opportunity to train your inner qualities: patience, courage, discipline, awareness. You don't need to go looking for big challenges. They will come on their own. What you need is the readiness to face them as tests, not designed to crush you, but to help you grow. Start with the smallest things: stepping out of your comfort zone, taking responsibility when you feel like avoiding it, speaking up when you want to stay silent, acting when you want to delay. Every such action is a moment of training, not to appear strong, but to become a stronger, more grounded version of yourself. Remember, resilience isn't born from positive affirmations or peaceful days. It's forged in those moments when you wanted to quit but kept going, in the silent wounds you healed without showing anyone. And each time you overcome a challenge, you don't just move forward, you become more fully yourself. Stoics don't fear challenges. They welcome them as essential to the path of mindful living. And if today you're facing something difficult, don't run, look it in the eye and say, "This will make me stronger." Choose to be around people who make you better. Every person you meet leaves a mark, whether faint or deep, nurturing or draining, whether you realize it or not. Your surroundings are a reflection of who you are. Stoics never take relationships lightly. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who can make you better, and welcome those whom you can improve." This isn't just advice, it's a way of life. Inner freedom cannot grow in a toxic environment. Look around. Do the people you frequently spend time with make you feel lighter, clearer, more decisive, or do they make you more irritable, insecure, or lost? No one is perfect, but some people make you believe in the good, remind you of your values even when you forget, and others cause you to doubt yourself, pulling you into cycles of judgment, negativity, and uncertainty. Choosing who to be around isn't just about friendship, it's about choosing the future you are walking towards. Someone who always complains, blames others, and avoids responsibility can make you start doing the same. But if you walk with people who live with principle, face challenges bravely, and stay calm in chaos, you'll slowly become like them without even trying. Stoics don't choose friends to escape loneliness. They choose friends to practice virtue together, to evolve together. The right relationship doesn't make you feel indulged, it makes you feel awakened. If you're in a circle where you have to shrink yourself to be accepted, maybe it's time to step away, not to reject others, but to stay honest with yourself. And in return, ask yourself, am I someone who helps others grow? Or am I pulling them away from who they are? Every interaction holds power. And when you intentionally build a space that nurtures integrity, awareness, and courage, you not only transform yourself, but you become a catalyst for change in others. You don't need a large circle, you need a true one. A real friend can steady you through turbulence, remind you of what matters when you're tempted to give up. And when you're near people like that, you're not just living, you're becoming. Embrace change as a catalyst for growth. Change is inevitable, whether you want it or not. The world keeps moving. People evolve, and you yourself cannot remain the same version forever. But what causes pain for many is not change itself. It's the resistance to it. Stoics don't avoid upheaval. They learn to look at it directly, live through it, and grow from it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Observe constantly. All things are in flux. Love this truth." Rather than fear transition, he chose to accept it as a natural part of life and of being human. You may have lost a job, a relationship, a familiar path at first. It felt shaky, like the world was collapsing. But then, from the rubble, a new door opened, a different direction appeared, and you realized if it hadn't been for change, you would have remained stuck in a version of yourself that no longer fit. Change, when seen with the right mindset, stops being a threat. It becomes a tough but honest teacher. It shows you what is true, what is outdated, what needs to be released for you to be freer. Stoics teach that happiness does not come from the world conforming to our desires, but from learning to live in harmony with what is. When you stop trying to control everything, you begin to touch real inner freedom, where peace doesn't depend on circumstances, but on your capacity to adapt and let go. If you're facing a major change, ask yourself, what am I resisting? Why am I afraid to lose it? What possible good could this change bring that I haven't yet seen? These questions don't deny your emotions. They open a clearer, more mindful perspective. You can't hold on to everything, but you can hold on to yourself through all the movement, and that's what Stoics train for every day, to walk through change with calm and use it as a lever for growth. Change is a wave, you can't stop it, but you can learn to ride it with steadiness, flexibility, and an inner stillness that no longer gets swept away by fear. When you do that, change is no longer a loss. It's a rebirth. The power of saying no at the right time. How many times have you said yes just to avoid saying no? How many times have you taken on extra work, joined a gathering, agreed to something when deep down all you wanted was to rest, to focus, or to simply be alone? Not being able to say no may seem like a social habit, but in truth, it quietly erodes your inner freedom. Stoics understand deeply. Every time you say yes to something unnecessary, you're saying no to what truly matters. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid by others for not pursuing what they pursue." Saying no at the right time doesn't make you less in the eyes of others. It shows you're living by your values, not by others' expectations. The power of no doesn't lie in pushing others away. It lies in protecting your energy, time, and mind for the things that truly have meaning. When you learn to say no to what doesn't serve your life's purpose, you're doing something essential, exercising control over your own choices. Recall the last time you said yes when you wanted to say no. Why did you agree? Was it fear of being judged, a sense of obligation, or just the habit of putting others before yourself? Stoics don't promote selfishness. They promote clarity and integrity. When you say no to an unnecessary invite, to a pointless habit, to a time-draining request, you're saying yes to yourself, to rest, to creativity, to focus, to the dreams still growing inside you. Practice this like an art. Say no without needing to justify, without guilt, and without losing your compassion. A firm but gentle no can give you more than just an hour of freedom. It brings the feeling of living aligned with what you truly believe. And here's the thing, when you respect your own time and limits, others will learn to respect them too. You no longer need to please everyone. You just need to live honestly, clearly, and firmly in what you choose. A tree blooms by pruning away the excess. A meaningful life begins by cutting out what's unnecessary. And each time you say no to what doesn't belong to you, you make space for what truly does. Every fall is an opportunity to come back stronger. Life won't ask whether you're ready before it throws a shock at you. A failure, a rejection, a loss. The truth is, you will fall, you will hurt, and there will be moments when it feels like there's nothing left to believe in. But what matters is not whether you fall, it's how you get back up. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The obstacle to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Stoics do not avoid failure. They see each stumble as an essential part of growth. Falling doesn't make you weaker, avoiding it does. When something collapses, a failed project, a broken relationship, a dream that didn't come true, what you need isn't self-blame or concealment. What you need is a quiet moment to ask yourself, what did I learn from this? How will I move forward from here? Stoic thinking doesn't teach you to deny emotions. It teaches you to move through them, to reach the truth beneath. Maybe you expected too much. Maybe you weren't prepared. Maybe life simply didn't go as planned. But in any situation, one thing always remains: your power to choose your response. You can choose to keep going, even slowly. You can choose to rewrite your plan, shift your perspective, start again, and in doing so, you're not just recovering, you're redefining yourself, stronger, clearer, and deeper. Failure is the debris covering the person you are becoming. Dig through it, and you will find the light, and that's what builds true resilience. Not because you've never been broken, but because you have, and you kept moving anyway. Remember, resilience isn't a feeling, it's a habit. The habit of getting up every time you fall, the habit of believing in growth through adversity, the habit of not letting the past define who you are. And every time you do that, even quietly, even unseen, you are forging yourself into steel, a kind of steel that does not rust from failure, but is tempered by it. Clear thinking, seeing through assumptions and fleeting emotions. It's not adversity that breaks you, it's how you think about adversity. It's not someone's words that make you lose your way. It's how you allow your mind to be carried away by fleeting emotions. Stoics understand that to live with inner freedom, you must learn to think clearly, even when everything around you feels chaotic. Epictetus once said, "It's not events that disturb us, but our interpretations of them." This means most of the pain you feel doesn't come from reality, but from the story you tell yourself about that reality. When you let emotions lead, you jump to conclusions. I failed, therefore I'm useless. She's distant, so she must hate me. But the mindful person pauses, asks questions instead of declaring conclusions. What's true here? What's just a story? Am I seeing this through reason or through fear? Clear thinking is not coldness. It's the ability to observe yourself from the outside, as if speaking to a friend, fair, honest, and without judgment. Stoics train this every day through journaling, self-inquiry, or simply pausing before reacting. And you can begin there too whenever emotions rise. Don't immediately believe them. Ask yourself, does what I feel reflect the full truth? It is in those short pauses that you'll rediscover what Stoics value most: clarity, inner freedom. When no one out there can control you, there is a kind of freedom that doesn't come from how much money you have, where you live, or how many people admire you. It's the freedom of not being swayed by others' looks, words, or behavior. Stoics don't seek validation from the outside, they seek independence from within, a place where no one can command, manipulate, or hurt them without their consent. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Your mind will be unconquerable if you don't allow anything to enter it without your permission." In other words, no one can hurt you unless you give them the power to do so. You may be insulted, misunderstood, rejected, but what matters isn't what they did, it's how you respond. If you react with anger or pain, you've handed over the reins, but if you remain calm and aware, you're keeping your power. Inner freedom doesn't mean having no emotions. It means not being ruled by them. You see them clearly, but don't let them carry you away. You still feel, but you act in accordance with your values. Every day, you have the chance to train that freedom by not reacting immediately, by observing instead of judging, by returning to yourself before responding to others. When you live from that place, you are no longer manipulated by gossip, nor dependent on praise. And at that moment, you're not just living freely, you are truly in charge of your life. Observe before reacting, the mindful way through chaos in a world that rushes to react. The mindful person chooses to pause, not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that hasty reactions are the enemy of clarity. Stoics don't let fleeting emotions dictate their actions. They train the art of inner observation, stepping back, seeing what's happening inside, and acting from a place of awareness and intention. When someone says something that hurts you, you have two choices: react instantly with anger, or pause and ask yourself, was that really offensive? Or is it just my ego reacting? That moment of pause, though brief, is where you regain control. Marcus Aurelius once reminded, "Keep your mind calm in the storm of the outside world." It's a reminder that peace doesn't come from everything going your way. It comes from your ability not to be swept along. When you practice observing your emotions, your thoughts, your surroundings, you begin to see more clearly. You no longer react to protect your ego, to win arguments, or to prove anything. You act from inner values, from understanding and mindfulness. Begin with small moments. Instead of replying to a message instantly, take a deep breath. Instead of arguing when misunderstood, listen for a moment longer. In this slowness, you're developing a strength that no one can take from you. Reaction is instinct, but observing before reacting, that is a choice, and it is the gateway to true inner freedom. Mindful living, when every action reflects the person you want to become, you don't need a major life event to change. You don't need to wait for everything to fall apart before you start living mindfully. Every moment in everyday life is an opportunity to return to yourself. Stoics don't practice philosophy only when facing suffering. They live it in the smallest things: how they walk, how they listen, how they eat, how they end a day, because they understand how you do one thing is how you do everything. Mindfulness isn't some transcendental state. It's full presence in each act, from drinking a glass of water to how you respond in conversation. It's knowing why you're doing something, instead of drifting through it unconsciously. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Don't act as if you were going to live forever. Let your every action be worthy of your last." It's a reminder not to waste your days on what doesn't matter. Begin to live mindfully today. From the smallest things, take 5 quiet minutes in the morning. Notice your emotions in conversations. Ask questions before making decisions. Every intentional step is one that brings you closer to the person you truly want to become. Because the mindful person doesn't wait for tomorrow to live rightly. They choose to begin now.